I sat in that cold lawyer's office, my hands shaking as I gripped the edges of my seat. Around the heavy wooden table sat my golden sister Lena, my proud mother Diane, and me, Emily, the perpetual disappointment. The office smelled like old books and leather. Mr. Harrison, our grandfather's lawyer, opened the thick folder slowly, his weathered fingers turning each page with deliberate care. His glasses reflected the morning light as he began reading Grandpa's final wishes out loud. My heart pounded so hard I thought everyone could hear it. I expected nothing, honestly. Grandpa had always favored Lena, ever since we were kids. She was prettier, smarter, and had better grades. She got all the attention at family dinners while I sat quietly in the corner. As Mr. Harrison read through property after property, car after car, every single asset went to Lena. My sister's lips curved into a satisfied smirk, the same smirk she'd perfected over 23 years of getting whatever she wanted. Mom squeezed her shoulder proudly, whispering something that made Lena laugh. Then Lena leaned back in her leather chair, like she owned the world already. I felt my face burn with embarrassment and shame. This was it. This was the final confirmation. I was nothing. I was invisible. I was worthless. But then Mr. Harrison cleared his throat louder than before. "Wait," he said, adjusting his glasses carefully. "There's one final clause." Everyone froze. The room went completely silent. Even the clock on the wall seemed to stop ticking. That night at dinner, Mom and Lena couldn't stop talking about the future. They sat at our expensive dining table in our old family home, laughing continuously and planning their dreams together. Lena bragged about buying a massive mansion in Beverly Hills with an infinity pool and a guest house. She talked about collecting diamonds and designer clothes from every luxury brand in the world. Mom smiled and patted her hand proudly, saying things like, "You deserve it, sweetheart. You've always worked so hard." I pushed my food around my plate, barely eating anything. I felt sick to my stomach. Then Mom turned to me with that familiar disappointed look I knew all too well. "You know, Emily, if you had just tried harder in life, things could have been different," she said coldly. Lena smirked and added, "Yeah, maybe in another life you could have been born with some actual talent." I forced a smile and excused myself early, saying I wasn't feeling well. In my bedroom, I sat on my bed and cried silently, pressing my face into my pillows so nobody would hear me sobbing. I didn't want their money, really. I just wanted them to see me, to value me, to love me like they loved Lena with all their hearts. That night, my phone buzzed unexpectedly. Unknown number. I almost didn't answer it, but something deep inside made me pick up. A woman's voice, older and familiar, whispered urgently into the phone. "Emily, it's Margaret, your grandfather's assistant. Your grandfather wanted you to find something before they do. Something really important. He told me specifically to call you when the time was right." My heart raced as I drove to Grandpa's old study across town the next morning. Margaret's words kept echoing in my mind like a song I couldn't forget. The house was quiet and dusty, exactly as Grandpa had left it months ago. I used the key he gave me years ago when I was his favorite, if you can believe that. I know that sounds strange, but it was absolutely true. Behind his leather armchair, I found it, a locked metal box hidden between old books on the highest shelf. My hands trembled as I pulled it out carefully. Dust flew everywhere and made me cough. Then I saw the note taped to the top, for the one who is never seen. My eyes filled with tears immediately because it felt like Grandpa was speaking directly to me. Inside the box, I found 3 things that changed everything about my life. First, a USB drive marked with a small red. Second, a photograph of me as a little girl, maybe 5 years old, sitting on Grandpa's lap, both of us smiling huge, genuine smiles. I didn't remember this photo existing. Third, a thick envelope with my name written in Grandpa's shaky handwriting. It said "Confidential Clause" across the front in bold letters. I held everything close to my chest, feeling like I discovered treasure. My hands shook as I tried to open the USB drive on my phone, but nothing happened. It needed a password. The letter, though, Maybe it held answers to questions I didn't even know I had. Before I continue with the story, please support my channel by hitting the subscribe button. Your support means the world to me. The story is about to get even more interesting, and trust me, you don't want to miss what happens next. I sat in my car in Grandpa's driveway and opened the letter with trembling fingers. Inside, 5 pages written in Grandpa's beautiful handwriting. I read every word slowly, tears streaming down my face uncontrollably. He wrote about how he loved me deeply but watched from the sidelines as Mom and Lena treated me unfairly throughout my entire life. He wrote about hearing cruel comments they made when they thought I wasn't listening. He wrote about overhearing them laugh about me being the failure of the family. He wrote about regretting his silence every single day. He wrote about how he wanted to make things right before he died. Then came the important part that made me gasp. He explained that he created a test of character in his will carefully. He said he wanted to discover who in our family had real integrity and genuine goodness when they thought they were winning. He wanted to test their character when they believed no one was watching them or documenting their actions. He wanted to see who they really were underneath. He included the password for the USB drive at the bottom of the letter. 4 simple letters, truth. I typed it into my laptop with shaking fingers. The file opened immediately. My breath caught in my throat as a video began to play on my screen. It was security camera footage from Grandpa's hospital room, dated just 6 months ago before he died. The video showed Mom and Lena at Grandpa's bedside in the hospital. He was sleeping peacefully. Mom leaned close to Lena and whispered something urgently. Then I heard Mom's voice clearly through the speakers. Make sure he changes the will to give you everything. Tell him you'll visit more often if he does it. Lena laughed coldly and without any love. He's barely conscious anyway, Mom. Let's just forge his signature on some new documents. My stomach dropped completely. They were planning to cheat and commit fraud. But then Grandpa opened his eyes suddenly. He saw them. His voice was weak, but incredibly firm. I'm changing my will anyway, he said slowly. But not how you're planning at all. I'm adding a secret clause that will expose your greed and your true character. This will be a test of who you really are. Mom's face turned red with anger. What clause, Harold? Tell us right now. But Grandpa closed his eyes and wouldn't answer. He just shook his head. The video ended abruptly. I sat back in my car, completely stunned by everything I had just witnessed. My grandfather had orchestrated everything carefully. He knew they were greedy and dishonest. He had created the perfect test to prove it to the world. This wasn't about money anymore. This was about character. This was about who we became when we thought nobody was watching. The next day, I met with Mr. Harrison privately in his office. I told him about the video I found. I told him about the letter and the password. I told him everything I had discovered. He smiled sadly and nodded like he already knew all these details. Your grandfather trusted me completely with all the details, he said, leaning back in his chair thoughtfully. The clause is quite specific and detailed. The inheritance goes to whoever proves they have genuine moral character and integrity. I stared at him in confusion. What does that mean exactly? I asked nervously. Mr. Harrison adjusted his glasses and turned to face me. It means you must wait and watch carefully. Lena must believe she is the true heir for the full 6 months. During this time, if she shows greed, dishonesty, or cruelty beyond redemption, the clause triggers automatically. The money goes to whoever demonstrates integrity throughout the test, usually the person who acts with honor despite being treated poorly by everyone. He handed me a thick binder full of rules and conditions. Your job is simple, he said. Just live your life honestly. Don't tell anyone about this clause. And document everything that happens. That very evening, something incredible happened that proved my grandfather's theory immediately. Lena posted on social media about selling Grandpa's antique collection online. She was publicly advertising items before the probate period was even finished. Things at home got worse quickly and painfully. When I mentioned to Lena that selling Grandpa's belongings too soon seemed disrespectful to his memory, she snapped at me viciously. You don't deserve to have an opinion about anything, she said coldly. You're not getting a dime anyway, Emily. So keep your mouth shut and stay invisible. Mom took Lena's side immediately, as always without question. Emily, stop being jealous of your sister, she said, though I wasn't jealous at all. I was just heartbroken. A week later, Mom actually banned me from the family house completely. She said Lena needed a positive environment to plan her future without my negativity. I packed a small bag and left that same day. Driving away, I clutched Grandpa's letter to my chest and cried harder than I ever had before. My hands shook on the steering wheel. But something inside me also felt stronger than I had in years. I wasn't going to let them break my spirit. I wasn't going to become bitter and evil like them. I would prove to Grandpa that I could live with real integrity, even when nobody was looking. Even when I was being punished for simply existing. That night, Mr. Harrison called me. Emily, I need you to know that everything Lena is doing is being documented as part of the clause evaluation. I started becoming a detective in my own life, watching and recording everything. I documented every dishonest thing Lena and Mom did with careful dates and times. I kept a secret journal with detailed entries. Lena sold vintage furniture from Grandpa's house and pocketed the money before taxes were paid to the government. I noted the dates and amounts she posted about on social media. She made 3 large bank withdrawals in just 2 weeks, withdrawals of thousands of dollars. I took screenshots of her rude text messages to me and other family members. She sent awful emails bragging about winning the inheritance to friends. I saved everything in a secure folder. Mr. Harrison told me during our weekly phone calls to keep collecting evidence. The final review is coming soon, he said. Every action they take is being recorded and analyzed carefully. Stay strong, Emily. You're doing the right thing. I got a job at a local bookstore to support myself financially. I moved into a tiny apartment with 2 friendly roommates. My life was simple and honest. I woke up early, went to work, came home tired, studied for night classes, and helped others whenever I could. I volunteered at a local food bank on weekends, serving meals to hungry families. I tutored kids after school for free because I loved helping them. I was living the life Grandpa wanted me to live, the life of real integrity and compassion. Nobody knew who I was. Nobody applauded me. But I knew in my heart. Then Lena threw a massive party at an expensive hotel downtown. She called it her inheritance celebration and invited everyone who mattered. The guest list had 200 important people. Everyone important in our city was invited. Everyone except me, of course. I didn't care about being excluded from the party. I cared about the truth coming out. So I did something I knew Grandpa would understand and approve of. I showed up alone, dressed nicely, but simply in a black dress. I didn't go to the party itself inside. I stayed in the lobby near the ballroom entrance with my phone, recording video. I waited patiently for 3 hours until Lena, drunk and happy and careless, came stumbling out with her friends. She was bragging loudly about her accomplishment. I manipulated Grandpa's will perfectly. She laughed without any shame. He was so sick he didn't even know what he was signing. Mom and I played him like a video game. My hands shook recording her words. She continued without shame, describing how she convinced Grandpa that she was his favorite, how she pretended to be loving when really she was calculating. She was admitting to fraud and manipulation right there in the hotel lobby. Someone at the party that night, I never found out who, sent that recording anonymously to Mr. Harrison and to a local news station. Things started falling apart for Lena within days of the recording surfacing. Rumors began spreading around our entire city rapidly. News outlets were asking questions about her inheritance. Reporters started digging into Grandpa's while investigating. They found inconsistencies and suspicious details. Lena's perfect image cracked like thin ice in spring. Her fiancé's family saw the video of her bragging about manipulation on the news. They canceled the wedding immediately, without hesitation. Her social media brand deals disappeared overnight. Companies didn't want to be associated with her anymore. She lost sponsorships and partnerships worth hundreds of thousands of dollars. I watched it happen from my small apartment, feeling nothing really. Not happy, not sad. Just empty and numb. Because seeing her fall wasn't actually fixing anything deep inside me. It wasn't healing my wounds. It wasn't making me feel loved or valued. Mr. Harrison called me urgently. Emily, the 6 months are almost complete now. The clause will be activated very soon. Prepare yourself for what's coming. Mr. Harrison summoned both of us to his office for the final evaluation meeting. Lena and I sat in that same cold room where everything started months ago. She looked angry and scared at the same time. Her perfect hair was messy and uncombed. Her designer clothes looked wrinkled and worn. She sneered at me as we waited for Mr. Harrison. "Don't get your hopes up, loser," she said. "You'll still get nothing. This is just a formality." I said nothing in response. I just waited quietly. Before we left that meeting, Mr. Harrison mentioned something that confused Lena completely. He asked me about my volunteer work at Grandpa's charity foundation in detail. He asked me specific questions about the hours I spent there, the people I helped, the changes I made. Lena's face went pale with realization. She had never worked at that charity once. She had never helped anybody in need. She had spent the entire 6 months buying things and partying constantly. Mr. Harrison thanked me and asked Lena to wait outside in the lobby. When Lena left the room, he turned to me with knowing eyes. "One last act will decide everything," he said mysteriously. I read the fine print in the will very carefully. Grandpa had left detailed instructions about his 3 core values that mattered most: honesty, compassion, humility. Whoever inherited the money had to have proven they lived by these values consistently. I checked myself honestly against these standards. Had I been honest? Yes, even when lying would have been easier and more convenient. Had I been compassionate? Yes, I worked at a food bank and volunteered at a charity regularly. Had I been humble? Yes, I lived simply and never bragged. Lena? She had failed all 3 completely. She was dishonest about the will and the inheritance. She showed no compassion toward anyone in her life. She bragged constantly about her imagined victory. Mr. Harrison looked at me seriously and leaned forward. "One final action will prove everything, Emily. Your family is planning something dishonest. They're about to make a huge mistake. When it happens, how you respond will determine your future completely." 3 days later, the plan unfolded exactly as Mr. Harrison had warned. Lena and Mom created a fake donation scandal involving the charity. They forged fake receipts, making it look like I had stolen money from Grandpa's charity fund. Then they sent these forgeries to journalists, to the police, and to my boss at the bookstore. They were trying to destroy me completely before the clause could trigger. They were trying to make me look like the criminal and the liar. Police officers showed up at my apartment with serious faces and many questions. My name appeared in newspaper headlines: "Heiress embezzles from charity." My boss suspended me from my bookstore job immediately without investigation. News crews showed up at my apartment building. Mom called me and said, "You're an embarrassment to this family. We're going to sue you for damages." I almost broke completely under the pressure. I sat on my bed and considered giving up everything. But then Mr. Harrison sent me something crucial and game-changing: new security camera footage from Grandpa's charity office. The footage showed Lena and Mom creating the fake receipts on the charity's computer together. They were printing them out and forging signatures deliberately. The timestamp showed it was done just 2 days before they sent them to police. It was irrefutable evidence of their own crime. I held this footage in my hands, this golden ticket to victory. But I had to think carefully about what I would do with it. This was my moment. I could destroy them completely if I wanted. I could post it everywhere and watch their lives burn. I could become just like them in my heart. Or I could do something different. I made a choice that surprised even me. I sent the footage anonymously to the same news outlet that had destroyed my reputation. I didn't put my name on it. I didn't take credit for exposing them. I just sent the truth and let the truth speak for itself. The next day, everything flipped completely. Headlines changed. Perfect heiress lied about charity scandal. Emily was innocent. News channels ran the footage of Lena and Mom creating fake receipts together. Reporters interviewed me, asking how I felt being vindicated. I stayed calm and honest throughout. I said I forgave them and hoped they would get help. Lena lost her fiancé completely. She lost the few remaining brand deals. Her reputation was absolutely destroyed. She became known as a liar and a criminal, not an heiress. The family fallout was intense and painful. Diane called me and screamed accusations. She said I had ruined the family name. She said I was jealous and vindictive. She said I had destroyed everything they built. I listened to her anger, without responding with anger of my own. Then I said something that surprised us both. Mom, truth ruined it.
Not me.
The truth was always there. We just had to find the courage to face it. That night, Mr. Harrison called me. His voice was different. Quieter. More emotional. Tomorrow, Emily. The clause activates tomorrow. Be ready. We gathered in that lawyer's office one final time. Mom looked like she hadn't slept in days. Lena looked scared and defeated. Mr. Harrison opened a leather folder with official documents. He read the secret clause aloud so everyone could hear it clearly for the first time. The inheritance shall go to the heir who proves genuine integrity when tested by betrayal. The heir who maintains character when facing cruelty, who acts with honesty when dishonesty would be easier, and who chooses compassion over revenge. Gasps filled the room. Then Mr. Harrison opened the final sealed envelope. He pulled out a document with my name written in gold letters at the top. Emily.
Me.
Not the perfect sister. Not the golden child. Just me. I officially inherited everything. $100 million. Properties across 3 states. Company shares and investment portfolios. Grandpa's vintage car collection. His art collection. Everything. I sat in shock for a moment. Then I looked at my mother and sister. Mom fainted right there in the lawyer's office. Someone called an ambulance. Lena screamed that she would contest the will in court. She said Grandpa wasn't in his right mind. She said I had manipulated him somehow. But Mr. Harrison calmly explained that Grandpa had been mentally evaluated by 3 different doctors the day before he added the secret clause. His mental competence was legally documented and unquestionable. Any contest would fail immediately. The backup clause also stated that anyone who contested the will would lose all inheritance rights permanently. Lena stopped screaming and started crying instead. 3 days after the official transfer, there was a knock on my apartment door. I opened it to find Lena and Diane standing there with red eyes and tear-stained faces. They looked broken. Can we come in? Lena asked quietly. I let them inside. My tiny apartment suddenly felt very small with all 3 of us in it. Mom started crying immediately. Emily, we made terrible mistakes, she said. We treated you so unfairly. We were so cruel. Please, if you don't help us, we're going to lose everything. We'll be homeless. Lena nodded, tears streaming down her face. I know I don't deserve your forgiveness, she said. But I'm asking anyway.
Please.
We could lose the house. We could lose everything. I listened to them beg. Part of me wanted to turn them away. Part of me wanted them to suffer like they had made me suffer. But I thought about Grandpa's values. Compassion, humility, honesty. My mother and sister were finally showing real humility. For the first time, they were admitting their mistakes. But then Lena did something that made me hesitate and reconsider. She leaned forward with desperation in her eyes. Could you maybe just sign over a small part of the inheritance? She asked. Just enough to save Mom's house? Just enough for us to survive comfortably. I looked at her carefully and studied her face. Tell me the truth, Lena. Have you actually changed? Are you being honest with me now? She hesitated. Then she said, Yes, I promise. I've learned my lesson. I'll never be like that again. But her eyes told a different story. I could see the calculation happening behind her tears. She was trying to manipulate me again, just more carefully this time. So, I did something Lena never expected. I pulled out my phone and played a recording. It was the conversation I was having with her right then in real time. I had been recording the entire visit. I watched her face go pale as she heard her own words of manipulation. I showed them both the recording. I didn't do it to be cruel. I did it to show them that integrity means always telling the truth, even when it's uncomfortable. I explained that I would help them, but only if they were willing to be completely honest with me. I'm going to give you a monthly stipend, I said. But it will be through my charity under a different name. Nobody needs to know it's you. You won't have access to large sums of money. You won't have control, but you'll survive with dignity. Lena started to protest, but Mom stopped her. We accept, Mom said quietly. Thank you for your mercy, Emily. We don't deserve it. I told my story to a journalist I trusted. I explained everything, from the secret clause to the final truth. I didn't do it to humiliate them further. I did it to show people what real integrity looked like. The story went viral immediately. Millions of people watched my video. Millions of people read my story carefully. The public called me the honest heiress. News channels covered my story continuously. I became famous not for the money, but for my character. I visited Grandpa's grave and stood there in the quiet afternoon light. I promised him that I would use the inheritance to help people like me, people who had been undervalued, overlooked, and dismissed by their families. I promised him I would build something meaningful from his test. I decided to rebuild the charity that Lena had tried to destroy. I committed to donating millions to support young women facing family injustice and trauma. Mr. Harrison called me with news about a final surprise from Grandpa. There was another letter waiting for me. Inside that envelope was a handwritten letter dated weeks before Grandpa's death. He wrote, Emily, if you're reading this, it means you passed the test. It means you kept your integrity even when it would have been easier to become bitter and vengeful. I am so proud of you. Real strength isn't about winning. It's about staying true to who you are inside. That's why I'm adding one more gift to your inheritance. A special trust fund specifically designed to help women who have faced family injustice and betrayal. I want you to use this money to change lives. Every dollar you give away will multiply the goodness in the world. Remember, forgiveness is also strength. I faced my biggest choice yet. Could I actually forgive them? Lena and Diane had treated me terribly my whole life. They had tried to destroy me even after I won. Forgiveness didn't mean forgetting or allowing them back into my life completely. But it meant letting go of the anger that was poisoning me from inside. I visited them one more time. Mom was working a part-time job now. Lena was going to therapy and actually trying to change. I told them both that I forgave them, not because they deserved it, but because I deserved peace. I told them that I would help them build new lives, but on one condition. They had to prove through their actions that they were genuinely changing. I set clear boundaries. 6 months later, I stood in the rebuilt community center that now bore Grandpa's name proudly. I had donated $5 million to make it happen. Young women were coming through the doors, women who had been dismissed, undervalued, and hurt by their families. I was offering them scholarships, therapy, job training, and hope. I thought about Grandpa and what he had really taught me. His will wasn't about money. His test wasn't about winning. It was about discovering who I really was when nobody was watching. It was about proving that integrity matters. That character matters. That being honest, compassionate, and humble means more than any amount of money. I walked home that evening with my head high, exactly like Grandpa had wanted. I reflected on everything that had happened. Grandpa's clause wasn't about money, I thought. It was about character. It was about seeing who we become when we think nobody's watching. I published my story, and it made national headlines. The heiress who chose integrity over revenge. Millions of people read my story and felt inspired to be better versions of themselves. But the most important thing I realized was this. I didn't need them to love me. I never needed their approval or their attention. I just needed to remember who I was all along. If this story inspired you and moved your heart, please subscribe now for more powerful real-life transformations that will change how you see the world forever. Please like, share, and comments. I will love to hear your thoughts in the comment section. Your support means the world to me. Hit that notification bell so that you don't miss any inspiring stories like this one. Thanks for watching.